The theory of evolution proposed by Charles Darwin is one of the most significant scientific theories in history. It revolutionized our understanding of life on Earth and continues to shape our knowledge of the natural world. This video explores the journey of Charles Darwin, his groundbreaking ideas, and the impact of his theory on science and society.
The idea that God had created humanity in his own image and likeness was prevalent among most Western scientists until the mid-19th century. They believed that all creatures on Earth were designed by a divine force. That is, until Charles Darwin arrived on the scene. While some researchers were already discussing the evolution of species, the British naturalist was the first to provide evidence explaining how evolution might occur through natural selection. His theory revolutionized biology, offering a new explanation for the origin of human beings. It also made him one of the most influential scientists and intellectuals in history. However, to reach this point, he had to undertake an extraordinary journey. Conduct hundreds of experiments, and spend 20 years refining his ideas. In 1831, Darwin was 22 years old and studying at the University of Cambridge when he was invited as a naturalist on a grand expedition. He boarded the HMS Beagle and spent nearly 5 years traveling across several continents, starting in South America. From this journey, he brought back dozens of life specimens, illustrations, and fossils. These fossils provided him with one of the first clues about evolution. For example, observing the remains of a mylodon, a giant animal similar to the sloth, he thought that these similarities were probably not coincidental. There had to be some kind of link. When he stopped at the Galapagos Islands, Darwin also observed its giant tortoises, which lived on nearby islands but showed unique physical characteristics on each island. In the humid areas where vegetation was abundant, the tortoises had a short neck and a dome-shaped shell. In contrast, on the islands with a drier environment, they had a saddle-like shell and a longer neck. But could he explain that difference? Upon his return, Darwin spent time observing how animal breeders and farmers crossbred animals of different species to create new varieties. For this creation to be successful, the artificial selection made by humans was key. Darwin realized that the natural world probably made the same kind of selection, but he couldn't explain how it happened until he read the work of Thomas Robert Malthus, a British intellectual from the 18th century. In an essay on demography, Malthus said that as the population in Europe was growing, at one point it would increase much more than the food supplies available, and that would cause a fight for survival. This idea helped Darwin explain how evolution works in nature. There is a struggle for survival in which the strongest individual is not necessarily the survivor, instead, it's the one which best adapts to the environment where it lives. If a living being has any trait that helps them to survive, it will be more successful at reproduction. Those which don't adapt will die without descendants. The creatures with the most success in reproducing pass their traits to their lineage, and so on, until these variations end up becoming a new species. That's why the differences between the Galapagos tortoises were a product of evolution. In a drier environment, those with longer necks could reach the bushes easily in order to get food, while those who lived in the humid environment could eat grass and protect themselves from predators thanks to their shorter neck and the dome-shaped shell. Darwin said that all species, including humans, were not created independently but descended from a common ancestor. From then on, life on the planet began to diversify. 20 years after his trip, Darwin had written thousands of pages but hadn't published any. He wanted to have irrefutable evidence, perhaps because he knew that his theory was going to cause quite a stir. But everything changed when he received a letter from Alfred Russel Wallace, an admirer and fellow naturalist who told him that he had reached the same conclusion: evolution was produced by natural selection. Darwin panicked, facing the possibility that Wallace could take sole credit for the theory. So the two naturalists agreed to present a joint letter explaining their findings. But a year later, Darwin published his book titled On the Origin of Species, and he became a celebrity far beyond the scientific community. His findings shook the foundations of Victorian Britain. Like Copernicus in his time, Darwin changed the game by explaining that diversity came from a biological process without any interference from God. Darwin placed human beings on the same evolutionary level as all the creatures on the planet. Scientific advances have confirmed his theory, and even the Catholic Church ended up accepting decades later that evolution is compatible with faith. And today, more than 150 years after Darwin's theory became known, we know that evolution is a fact. The planet keeps changing, sometimes dramatically, and we keep changing with it.
Charles Darwin's theory of evolution has stood the test of time and continues to be a cornerstone of modern biology. His insights into the natural world have not only deepened our understanding of life, but also inspired countless scientific advancements. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the natural world, Darwin's legacy reminds us of the power of observation, curiosity, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge.